productivity, winning strategies, and aligning employer-employee goals. If this sounds like something your business could use more of, then you've come to the right place. The Business Mechanic Show with your host, Vaughn Sigmund. Let Vaughn show you how to develop, improve, and jumpstart your business. So now, please welcome the host of The Business Mechanic, Vaughn Sigmund.
As a sales manager, do you ever face the situation where you've got a sales team member that's been bonked on the head, punched in the nose, knocked down through rejection or disappointment? Well, in Tactic 12, we're going to talk about how to help you help them overcome and rebound from disappointment and rejection. As you well know, sales is undeniably challenging, and not everyone is so naturally equipped for the demands that it has. One of the key skills that separates top-performing salespeople from the rest is their ability to develop resilience. Resilience, what is it? Here's what we're talking about. The ability to adapt and recover from failures, setbacks, disappointments, rejection. This resilience, it's the strength that keeps them going when things aren't going very well. We all hit slumps. And it's those slumps that sometimes get into their heads or high heads. We got to find our way out of it. That's resilience and resourcefulness. Because at the end, we have to find ways to overcome that obstacle. So in this tactic, you will learn the key steps to spot and overcome rejection and disappointment for your sales team. I'll share a few ways you can not only spot when a salesperson's been hit with disappointment, more importantly, how you as their sales leader can foster resilience. Yes, you can control that. Yes, you can teach that to your sales team. And as a results-driven sales manager, your capacity to create a resilient team is indispensable. Resilience isn't merely a trait, it's a skill that you can nurture and help your team members develop. And in this tactic, we'll explore the significance of resilience in sales and your role as the sales manager in fostering it and strategizing to cultivate results, to cultivate resilience with your sales team. By doing so, you'll be able to create a team that is motivated, adaptable, and determined to succeed in any situation. Imagine that. Let's first talk about why resilience is so crucial for your sales team members. It's critical in sales because setbacks or rejections are inevitable. Even the best salespeople face challenges and downturns and setbacks. But what sets great teams apart is their ability to bounce back and to learn from those experiences. And being resilient enables salespeople to maintain a positive attitude, staying optimistic despite these setbacks, keeps their morale high, and reduces the impact that rejection and disappointment has on their results. Helps them also adapt to change, the ability to pivot and adjust their strategies quickly. That's crucial in the ever-evolving world of the sales landscape. And you want them to be able to be persistent through these challenges, not to go into a cave and hide. Because resilient salespeople don't give up. They find new ways to approach their goals and objectives, even in the face of rejection. And it helps them learn and grow. They can view setbacks as learning opportunities. That allows salespeople to continuously improve and refine their skills. So let's get down to What's your role as a sales manager in fostering this resilience? Because you play a pivotal role in helping your team through these tough times or tough situations. And your support and guidance will make a significant difference in how your team handles adversity. And unsurprisingly, one of the key skills that separates the best salespeople from the average one is their ability to rebound, bounce back after they've been let down. It's your responsibility as a sales manager to guide them, to spot it, guide them, help them recover from these failures quickly. When they get a setback, they go into a slump, they're disappointed. Your acts, your leadership to dig them out of and get them redirected quickly and positively, putting all that back into their rearview mirror. And like in the previous tactic, they cannot carry this head trash around. It stymies their motivation. It distracts them. It creates disengagement if it's not addressed appropriately. And these things all lead to them being less effective if it's allowed rent space in their heads. And it goes without saying that this head trash, you're going to spot it. It's going to be revealed in lower performance. And this, of course, affects you. It's a reflection of you because they're only as good as you are as a leader. And so it's really important that when it's detected, you jump in and give redirection in their mindsets and support them in their strength to keep going when things aren't going so well for them. Help them with their resourcefulness to find new ways, workarounds, new directions, to jump in and help them out, to overcome obstacles. And it's this tactic where you'll understand why resilience is crucial as their leader and how you can help them, show them how to develop this essential skill. Let's start by some strategies to cultivate resilience. Consider implementing some of these following strategies. First, for you, spotting it. Mentioned it before, spotting negativity and rejection and impact the minds, motivation of your sales team. How do I spot it? It's so important. You got to be attuned. You got to be watching. You got to be eyes on. You got to be glassing your team all the time and spot when they've been impacted by rejection. The sooner, the better. Your observations are key to this because their feelings of rejection or disappointment, sometimes it's easy because they'll display it in anger. Often it can be missed because they'll display it just by being quiet, reserved, maybe showing a little disconnection. Don't ignore that. Be aware and be looking for that because this is where you're going to have to jump in and do something about it. It's not going to fix itself because without your encouragement, your leadership, they're going to run a very high likelihood of dwelling on their disappointment for days, weeks, longer. It varies by individual. And I'm not over dramatizing this. I've seen the changes in sales professionals way too many times when they've been punched in the face. Don't let your team members get there. Now, this may be best displayed by a story. This true story that exemplifies the importance of spotting the negativity and more importantly, how this sales manager jumped in and redirected it. I've abbreviated it a little bit because I won't be talking all day about this, but Jay, very seasoned sales manager, really effective sales manager. He has a reputation for being a really inspiring guy. His teams were continually reaching new heights. They really worshiped this guy, his team. And one day, Jay was preparing for his weekly sales meeting. He was reviewing sales figures, sales numbers, results, strategizing on some upcoming campaigns, new product rollouts, and thinking about his key role in motivating this team to continue to excel. However, as he was looking at the numbers, one name really stood out on the list, and that was Sarah. Sarah is a very talented salesperson who would obviously, based on the numbers, hit a rough patch. And Jay knew he could not ignore the signs any longer. Well, Sarah had been a top performer, but had lately appeared defeated. Her once confident demeanor had given way to self-doubt, and her sales numbers were frankly plummeting. And Jay strapped all the responsibility of this, knew he had to intervene to help Sarah get her positive mojo back. So during the team meeting, Jay strategically opened the floor for each team member to discuss their recent challenges and share their experiences. It's always the best practice. He noticed, as he might have suspected, Sarah hesitating because her confidence was bruised. But he gently, knowing that she was bruised, she was hurt, he gently encouraged her to speak up. And with a deep breath, she shared her frustrations. It came out. And she says something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, but I've been facing rejection after rejection, and it's really getting to me. And I feel like I'm not cut out to do this anymore. That's scary. And Jay, of course, he could sense the weight of Sarah's words and the impact it had not only on her, but on his entire team around. And he decided at that point to jump in, not only for Sarah, but for the entire team. So Jay responded by saying, thank you, Sarah, for being honest with us, being transparent, being humble enough to share that with us. And I want you all to know that every salesperson faces setbacks, faces rejections, goes into slumps. It's just part of our jobs. I face them. You face them all the time. But it's also how we learn and grow. Setbacks, rejections can be very important and positive to us because we can learn from those. Let's remember our successes, the deals we've closed. Think about all the great things you've done. Don't dwell on the negative things. We've all faced challenges and overcome them. This is just a bump in the road for Sarah, and when you face it, for all of you. And Sarah, I've seen you shine in the past. You've led this team, and I believe in your abilities, and the entire team knows that you're one of the top performers here. And instead of seeing these rejections, which have gotten into your head, and seeing them as failures, let's view them as a stepping stone to success. What can we learn from your rejections, your experiences? And then Jay opened it up for the team. He opened it up to the peers to support her. Jay didn't go into a lecture. Jay didn't sympathize and get just as frustrated as Sarah was. No, he stayed positive, and he took one of the most important steps, most effective steps is let your peers help you out. We're all in this together. And as the team discussed what they've been doing with their strategies, what their mindsets are when dealing with rejection, Jay even shared some of his own stories. Jay had been a lifelong sales professional. he'd been punched in the face a few times too. He also emphasized the importance of maintaining a positive mindset, which is easily forgotten when you're in the murk, the dark, negativity, and also how important persistence is in sales. So they had a great discussion. A lot of positive came out of it. Sarah got a bit of a grin back on her face, pulling herself out of the mud. And after the meeting, Jay scheduled a one-on-one session with Sarah because he really wanted to personalize this. He wanted to delve deeper into her experiences, her concerns, and most importantly, rekindle her enthusiasm. And during this one-on-one, during this conversation, Jay listened attentively, listened very closely to Sarah's frustrations, and showed empathy, acknowledging her feelings of defeat. And see how you can feel like that. I understand how that happens. I felt the same thing. And then Jay shared a very powerful quote. Jay was quite a quoter, maybe one of the best I've ever seen. And he shared the quote, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." And he, from there, encouraged Sarah to reflect on her past achievements, remember what successes she's had. Dwell on the positive. Don't get caught up in the negativity of a person or two, and allow them to rent space in your brain for free and bring you down. Help Sarah think back to why she became a salesperson, a successful salesperson to start with. And then he broke some of those challenges down into some realistic goals, some things she could tweak, adapt, and really help Sarah strategize on some of these challenges and systematically work her way out of it. He also offered, and she took, some additional training resources. And he acted as a mentor for her. And he scheduled regular check-ins to see how she was doing. And over the next few days, Sarah's outlook began to shift. She started viewing rejections as opportunities to learn and improve. Boom, 180. And when she faced a rejection, she wanted to learn from that. So she would go to Jay, or she'd go to her mentor on her team and seek some feedback. They continually refine her approach. And all of a sudden, the deal started coming. Because it's that positive mindset that's going to change the course. Had she dwelled there too long, she'd be going down that negative path, maybe all the way to quitting. And she closed one deal after another. And as she did that, of course, the byproduct was her confidence. She got her mojo back. And her sales numbers improved. And her commission check went up. And at the next quarterly review, Jay couldn't hide his pride in what Sarah had achieved. And he said something along the lines of, "Sarah has not only bounced back, but has exceeded her targets, becoming one of our top performers once again." And let Sarah's journey remind us of our own journeys, our own setbacks. They're only temporary, but it's our resilience, our positive mindset that will lead to improved results, remarkable success. And so Sarah's story to me is an inspiring example. And I think the whole team saw that as one. They could reflect back and use it as an example when they were facing their own demons. It helped them with their willingness to address their negativity, be open about the things they were feeling, and guide each other towards a more positive, persistent mindset. Being transformative as a culture in their careers and reinforcing the team's belief in their collective ability to overcome challenges and achieve greatness. And so credit goes to Jay. His actions demonstrated his commitment. It's so important. Don't lose this thread of thought. It demonstrated Jay's commitment to his team's growth and success. Jay took the responsibility and did something about it. Jay knew that it wasn't going to fix itself. They couldn't dig out of it all on their own, which just reinforces his reputation as being a results-driven sales manager who values his team members as individuals and as a whole. And he also understands the importance of positivity, especially when it comes to sales. And please, as I wrap this up, take the points. I think some of the moral of this is you can't manage a sales team like any other team in the organization. Why? As I mentioned earlier, salespeople face three things that nobody else in the organization faces. They face competition. They're fighting constantly against others to win deals. And two, they're paid commission. Commission is based on their performance. Often a significant amount of their income is created from commissioned earnings. And mess with their paycheck and you're messing with their head. Rule of thumb. And third, which goes to the point we're making here today around resilience, is salespeople are only people in the organization that frankly, they face rejection all day, every day. And in even high performing sales environments, a close rate may be as high as 30%. Most companies would kill for that. However, this means that they fail 70% of the time. And in many organizations, close rates are around 10%. You can do the math on that. That's where some of this mindset as a sales leader, you're not attuned to this and the importance of redirecting those negative thoughts. You're going to see the reduction in performance and outputs and outcomes and enthusiasm and engagement of a sales team. Really, does accounting and shipping face any of those things? No, of course not. Now let's dig in and get after it. Here are some practical steps to spot. This is when you're glassing your sales team, you're observing your sales team. You gotta be managing by walking around all the time. Do not get holed up in the office too long during the course of a day. And this is how you're going to spot sales team members grappling with negativity or feeling overwhelmed. Keep a watchful eye on your team. That is one of the most essential best practices. Keep an eye on your team. That's one of the most important best practices any sales leader can have, is keeping a watchful eye on your team, watching their behaviors, watching their tones, watching their body language, the interaction, meetings, interactions with you, listening to them on the phone, spotting signs of negativity. They usually display themselves as decreased enthusiasm or maybe low energy, or somebody that used to come in early comes a little later. Somebody used to stay late is now going home right on time. It may come out as increased absenteeism or a lack of engagement. So keep your eye out for that. Second key thing is communication. When you've got a sales team that knows and you encourage and they know that you allow and encourage open and honest communication, that you foster an environment where team members feel comfortable expressing their concerns, sharing their challenges. I just had an interaction a day ago around a sales team where frankly, sales leadership had fumbled the ball. They had introduced a new goal setting methodology without talking to me first. I would have dissuaded them from going this direction. And along with that, that was going to affect the commission structure of this team. And what the company falsely thought was going to create a more positive, or more competitive, or more driven environment had the opposite effect. Sales tanked, engagement tanked, complaining increased. Problem was, as I often say, is you need to be the complaint department. Those complaints, they offered their frustration around this new goal setting methodology. They shared their frustration with their sales managers. There's multiples here. Because the executives in the organization were pretty closed-minded to any kind of change. There had been no collaboration around these changes. Their concerns fell on deaf ears. So it's one thing to listen to their challenges. It's another thing to make sure that you got the ability, gonads, relationship, the reputation for going and doing something. Fight for them. Remember, you always want to be the complaint department. Only you can do something about it. And you've got to be available to them. And while you're being available to them, remember, display your active listening skills, but you also need to go fight for them. And sometimes just the fight is all they need. They just need to be heard, understood, and that you went and did something about it. And even if it failed, you come back and explain to them why, or you go into a deeper understanding, help them more deeply understand why it's going to be the way it's going to be. You're not always going to be able to effectuate the changes. I got off on a little bit of a tangent there. Sorry. Signs that their mindset has gotten impacted by rejection. Performance metrics, of course. Their KPIs are going to drop. They're going to start missing clients. Spot that early. That's your early warning signal. Jump on that. Don't wait until the end of the month, thinking that somehow they'll pull themselves out of it. Jump in there early. Talk about it. Not accusatory, not lecturing them, not telling them what they need to change. Listen to them. Find out what's happening. Find out what the underlying issues are. You're their soft place to fall. You're their mentor. You're their coach. You can help fight their way out of this negative mindset by being resilient. And by doing so, you can change a negative mindset into a positive mindset. So how do results-driven inspirational sales leaders attack this? Once you've spotted it, you know which team members may be affected by negativity or rejection. You want to take the steps to go help them with their mindset. And the first thing you need to do is be an empathetic listener. Ask open-ended questions. Who, what, where, when, how, share with me, tell me, offer me, teach me. Create a space for them to vent their frustrations, share their challenges. And this ability to empathetic listening acknowledges their feelings. Do not dismiss their feelings. You can't argue with their feelings. You need to validate their experiences. Just listen. Sometimes just the act or art of listening, begin the journey out of their negative mind space. And then you can help coach them to a more positive mindset. Also, as I've said many times before, you've got to be an authentic leader. You've got to lead by example. They're watching you everywhere you go, like the documentary film crew. They're queuing in on what you say, what you do, how you say it, your responses to things. You're going to set the example for them, and you must set the bar for persistence as a sales manager very high. Demonstrate your own determination and resiliency, your personal actions and responses to challenges. And when your team sees you and your unwavering commitment, that sets a very powerful example for them to follow. Lead by example. Show how you handle setbacks gracefully. And then think about how you can reframe rejections. It's almost like Tony Robbins is so darn good at this. He's taking negatives and turning them into positives. Help your salespeople reframe their perception, because that's what it is, a perception of rejection. Encourage them to view rejection or setbacks as a learning opportunity rather than a personal failure. Share stories of successful deals that followed multiple rejections. Very often we're going to go through a slump, which just sets us up. We've got to get our bad ones out of the way. Sometimes they come early. Sometimes they come in grooves. It just happens that way. It's a game of numbers, but it's only temporary. It's not an example of you being weak or ineffective as a salesperson. And when you're getting rejected, salespeople often make it about them, and rarely is it about them. Something outside of their control likely is creating this that they may or may not ever know about. So help them not blame themselves, encourage. Like I mentioned in my recent experience, it's really important to set realistic goals. This keeps them out of their negative mindset, keeps them resilient, keeps them persistent. So best practice is always collaboratively help them set achievable short-term goals. Take the big goal, turn it into small goals. Here's your big goal. You got to sell $1 million this month. Now, how are we going to get there? Who are you going to call? What are you going to say when you call them? Who haven't you talked to in a while? Where's some low-hanging fruit we can go around? Let's look at some new products and maybe we can get into some other places. So help them strategize, break down their large objective into smaller, attainable. Take the big, turn it into small attainable milestones. That clears up their mind. Very often we get pushed down mentally when we're looking at this big $1 million goal that I've never sold $1 million, but I'll never get there. But if somebody can show me the path, show me the steps, things that maybe I'm not doing as well or as often as I should be, it turns those unachievable goals and a defeated mindset into something that is very much achievable. But always remember, I'm warning, just like I lectured the executive team in this other company this week, please don't make the mistake of setting sales team goals super high, thinking that's going to somehow motivate them or make them work harder. It doesn't. It never has, never will. Don't fool yourself. It's bullshit. Now, also, creating this resilient mindset, persistence, continuous learning. If they're continually sharpening their saw, which is an overused term, but I'm using it anyway. And if the rejection was in fact due to entirely or somewhat their part, their fault, get out of the blame game, turn that into a discovery session where they can figure out what they missed and how to make sure it doesn't happen again. Maybe they just have forgotten about some training. Maybe they have never been told how to do something. They've never faced this situation before. Help them learn from that so that when it occurs again, they'll be better equipped to deal with it. Provide them a culture where the importance of continuous learning, continuous improvement, is always at their access. Have your books, have your videos, have your blogs, have your training sessions, offer additional training, be their coach or find them a coach. Role plays, which I talk a lot about. I'm a huge believer in that. It brings confidence, resilience, persistence, because that confidence that comes, that preparation from role plays, drives behaviors you see. Maybe there's another person on the team that's really good or has faced this. You can help them through a mentoring program with that person, but give them the resources. Think about all the resources we have, especially in today's world. Hell, AI can maybe help them. ChatGPT can maybe help them. Dismiss or diminish or overlook any resource that we have, often free, at our fingertips. And then if you're the right kind of sales manager, and I know you're either there or striving to get there, it's always your role to equip them with the skills, the knowledge, the tools they need to overcome these obstacles, navigate their setbacks. Training builds confidence, and confident salespeople are more likely to be persistent in the case, especially in the case of adversity. I think in every single tactic I talk about this, so I want to talk about it again. I don't think I can talk about it enough because it doesn't happen enough in most sales cultures, and that's positive reinforcement. Making sure you're recognizing and celebrating even small wins. That builds persistence, that builds confidence, that builds that I'm always a winner mindset. Positive reinforcement. You are catching them doing it right and you're telling them about it. That boosts morale. That's motivating. It helps them persevere through their challenges, their setbacks. It's rocket fuel, as I've said a dozen times before. Don't leave it at the pump. Offer constructive feedback, encouraging feedback, and give them regular performance review. You should be talking to them every single week for a few minutes, a little more in depth once a month about how they're doing, identify their strengths, how they can build on those. If there's anything they need to work on, identify that and be their partner in improving that. Effective feedback helps every salesperson understand where they need to persistently improve, and more importantly, where they excel. Confidence. So it's the great inspirational sales manager who continuously tracks and monitors their team progress towards goals. On top of it all, they know their numbers. They know their team members' numbers. Know your numbers and identify areas where they may be struggling. The numbers are indicators of where things are going right and where they may not be going so well. Use your data. It'll lead you to where you need to go to be the best you can be at leading the best they can be. You can also make it visual. The more you can put up goals and attainment of those goals, leaderboards, dashboards, something that's accessible for all eyeballs to see, get it up there. Regular process checks. Check in with them daily, weekly. That helps them be persistent. You're their cheerleader. And celebrate the small victories and achievements along the way. Regardless of the outcome, even if it fails, you got to tie them back into all the things they did right, because often those failures are not their fault. They can sometimes drop vital best practices because it didn't work one time or two times and they abandon it altogether. They forget about the 80 other times that it worked perfectly for them. It served them well. They're looking for something to blame. Don't let it be their best practices. Catch their behaviors, the positive behaviors, the proper behaviors. Let them know you caught them. And this may be a little esoteric, but I think it's important. I've got it in my sales training program, and that's mindset training. As I often say, 90% of their sales success comes from between their ears. Have available or introduce mindset training, positive affirmation exercises. I never in a million years thought affirmations would be important to me, but they are. It helps you reprogram your thoughts, your thought patterns. Encourage them to visualize success, maintain growth, emphasize that setbacks and failures are opportunities to learn once again, and challenges are stepping stones. But you're going to have to equip them with resources to do that. Again, you're in control of all this. Offer them to your support. Have or create or foster a culture of support within your team. Often, they learn best from each other. Encourage your team members to lean on each other for encouragement. Build friendships. Seek advice. Say comfortable, experienced advice. It's incredibly motivating. You establish an open and supportive culture with your team. Encourage open communication, collaboration. It's a huge winning formula. And if you're bringing in new sales, make sure you always pair them, because you don't want them to get this negative mindset too soon with new people. Pair them with more positive or more experienced, successful sales team members as their mentors. And then always do regular check-ins. And during these check-ins, ask open-ended questions. You've got to get them to self-discover. Please don't lecture. Weekly, monthly. Help them self-discover. Ask a lot of open-ended questions. And then sometimes if there's something going on and you can't figure it out and your resources have failed you, seek some extra help. Maybe you need somebody from the outside to come in and pump them up. Maybe it's professional coaching, counseling, specialized support. And to wrap all this up, celebrate resilience. Highlight stories where resilience persistent within your team displayed themselves. Share success stories. It's so important. We just had the biggest month of the year. Sally, what did you do? Mitzi, what did you do? Stan, how was it? What did you do? Let them brag on themselves. That's really important. So in the end, you want to be able to create straight through these rejections. Sounds counter, doesn't it? That's really what your goal is in all of this. Is take rejection, disappointment, setbacks, turn it into strength, turn it into learning opportunities, more positive mindset. Because it's an arduous path that all sales professionals go through, and it's inevitable. These rejections and setbacks are going to incur. And even seasoned, highly skilled salespeople, they're going to face it. In fact, the ones that are out there taking more shots are going to face it more frequently than others. And as a sales manager, you're going to be impacted by a deal going bad. One of those that in the 11th hour, something blows up. And you have that feeling of rejection, you've been there. And within your landscape, being in your role as an inspirational sales leader, as an influencer, remember, you're an influencer. How you jump in, how you act, behave becomes very evident and very important. So I believe in empathy. Absolutely. You've got to acknowledge and help them with their feelings, but you can't show sympathy. Don't succumb to their frustration, their anger. their despair. Help them be resilient under your mentorship. Embrace rejection as a catalyst for learning and growth. And you've got to keep in mind the psychology of this. The need for acceptance, it's deeply ingrained in the human psyche. Dates back to the earliest existence of the caveman. And even back in those ancient times, survival, just staying alive, often depended on the acceptance and the support of the tribe. Does your tribe support, help each other out? When one is being rejected or cast out of the group, back in the old days, that meant facing that hard wilderness alone, which was pretty perilous. Sometimes, if not often, fatal. That's how we've been wired. Certainly, we don't have to worry about that much anymore. There's no dragons out there going to slay us. But as a result, our ancestors developed a very strong instinctual desire for acceptance, belonging, approval from the fellow tribe members. It was the person who did that best, the person who led best, that took action best, was the leader of the tribe. The one that provided, the one that kept them safe. That was the leader of the tribe. And that's you running your sales team. So we can fast forward into today's modern world, and this primal needs, it still exists. It's a fundamental part of human nature. And with many members of the population having self-esteem issues, some that are either built or destroyed through social media, these last two generations wired differently. Embrace that. And it extends beyond our basic survival, which is intertwined with all of this. It's in our pursuit of success and happiness based on followers, likes, shares, positive comments from friends or even strangers. And in sales, they have a deep need for acceptance. And when they win over a client, big hit to the dopamine. It helps them gain confidence. It shows that they can gain trust. They're hitting their sales targets. Rocket fuel. Because success depends on confidence and being accepted. Flip side, however, of this need for acceptance is the fear of rejection. That destroys so many potential salespeople. It's so powerful. And when salespeople face rejection or encounter resistance or failures, it triggers a response that goes back to our inner caveman that creates these bad habits and negative mindsets that are very self-limiting, of course. And so they avoid making prospecting calls. They pencil with it. They don't make their follow-up calls because something has happened that they fear that rejection. They don't ask for appointments or ask to close the sale for fear of being rejected. The brain interprets rejection as a potential threat to our social standing, if you our well-being. It triggers this release of stress hormones. And listen, this is the truth, y'all. This has been studied. And that these stress hormones, that's fight or flight or freeze. And it's these stress hormones that affect our emotional well-being. That absolutely influences our behavior. Keeping in mind, many salespeople are high eyes on the DISC report. And they all high eyes. Almost every successful salesperson has quite a bit of eye in them. They're socially driven. And they have a deep need for being liked. And it goes without saying, when they are ignored, ghosted, rejected by a prospect or a client, it cuts deep. It cuts deep. And that can have very long-term negative effects. Many salespeople create unconscious bad habits in their sales behaviors to avoid the discomfort and fear of rejection. They may become overly cautious. They may avoid challenges in sales situations like asking for the sale. Very often they'll resort in pleasing strategies so that they don't ever get to the point where they'll get some kind of rejection. They may even compromise their professionalism. Seeing that happen. Shows up, it manifests in the KPIs, close rate especially. The salesperson who just keeps talking when they should be closing or just shut up, they talk themselves out of a sale. What you seeing? They know they need to close, but they're very afraid of closing. Fear of rejection. And listen, on the opposite side, sometimes people become overly aggressive or overly pushy in an attempt to overpower objection. They're going to do it through sheer force rather than doing it the right way through creating, building genuine connections, discovery, allowing the customer to be the person who is guiding them through the sale. Consultative. And these domineering salespeople are very often hiding a weak self-esteem. That's their coping mechanism, is to avoid rejection, is to become pushy or overbearing. Don't mistake that. These are the ones that often externalize responsibility or avoid ownership of shortcomings. They're the opposite of what I've talked about mostly in this. They blame it on everybody but themselves. And these are people who are very hard to coach for improvement, but know where it's coming from. So overall, the challenge for sales professionals is to strike a balance between primal need for acceptance and our ability to handle rejection. Acknowledging that rejection is a natural part of the sales process. And salespeople must recognize that rejection doesn't reflect on their self-worth or their value of being a human. You've got to, as their sales leader, help them develop the resilience and coping mechanism to overcome these fears of rejection and avoid falling into counterproductive habits. It's your role as a sales leader. You got to help them embrace rejection as that learning opportunity. But for sure, it's really important for you to understand human nature. Not everybody thinks or processes like you. You're you. They're likely not going to be like you. You're in your role for a reason. You earned it. They may not have some of the skills and coping mechanisms that you have. So you have to keep in mind and understand the primal need for acceptance. They can't just brush it off. It's part of our human heritage. So it's up to you to help them navigate the challenge. Because sometimes they can meticulously analyze their interactions to understand what went right, to understand what went wrong. And that's okay. As long as they don't keep dwelling on it, they turn that into a learning opportunity. Very often they need somebody to bounce this off of, you or a peer. Talk it through. See how they could have redone it. Role play it. Now let's jump into another really important part of all this is you got to help them learn persistence. And if they've been rejected and they're responding negatively to rejection or shortfalls, persistence tends to diminish. And persistence is the lifeblood of a successful salesperson. And you as their sales leader, their sales manager, you play a pivotal role in fostering this trait. Resilience begets persistence. Persistence is a defining characteristic of top performers. And to these top performers, when they've overcome and they're very persistent, rejection and disappointment just slide off of them like butter off a hot biscuit. It's a defining characteristic of top tier salespeople. And the more you can help them get that confidence, that drive, that nothing's going to stop me attitude. I'm going to face setbacks. Get over it. Get into it. That takes time. Hey, your coaching helps. To sales managers' influence, it guides their team members to perceive rejection as invaluable learning opportunities. And at its just core, sales is a numbers game. And when they're persistent, resilient, confident, you'll find that they've got a supporting sales manager every time. And at its core, sales is it's a numbers game. And as long as everybody understands it's a numbers game, coupled with the right skill sets and the underlined by proper mindset, you as a sales manager can help them believe and engage in a way that's going to lead to a much higher likelihood of success closing deals. Resilience, persistence, proper mindsets. You've got a guide, and adaptability is key to staying ahead. So how do I create resilience as a catalyst for my team? Overcoming the fear of rejection and setbacks. Your influence as a sales manager in cultivating resilience is going to be transformative. And you hold the key to unlocking the vast potential of the inner resilience that all your team has in them. It's going to help them bring it out. Understand their strengths, build on those. Be encouraging, be positive yourself, set the right example, be empathetic, nurture the skill sets of your sales team. Understand your role as a leader. Very often we discount. We do not understand how important we are in the lives of our team members. Your leadership is key. I've often said, and we'll say it again, they're only as good as you are as a leader. And the more resilient you are, the more resilient they'll be. The more resilience you teach them, the better the whole team's going to be. That journey to success, a lot of what goes into that is what we're talking about today. So let's start wrapping it up. You're on this journey with me in these programs, become a master of inspiration. And you understand the impact and influence a results-driven sales manager has. And in this case, what you have in the way of power and nurturing resilience with your sales team, overcoming setbacks. The resilience is the bedrock upon which successful salespeople build their careers and sales teams get built. And you, my friend, hold the key to unlocking that potential. I've shared some of the approaches, the mindsets, the knowledge today that you must embrace and adapt and start practicing. Your ability to create a resilient team is an indispensable attribute. But it takes a long time. It takes you playing the long game and understanding it's always going to be part of your game. You're never done with this. It's sometimes disheartening to people, but you're never done. You're never there. You're always getting better. You're always striving for more. There's going to be new people come into the atmosphere. There's going to be setbacks, people leaving, people going, strengths, weaknesses, things going on at home. There's all these influences that you are responsible for catching and always working on a growth mindset. And you must always keep in mind the importance of helping them overcome disappointment. And if you do that really well, you're going to create a team that's motivated, adaptable, determined, persistent. And you will play a pivotal role in nurturing the success of your team, but you're nurturing their mindsets. So please think about all these things I shared with you today. Implement some of these strategies and approaches, because there's going to be setbacks. And the famous George Foreman boxer said, in life, you're going to get knocked down sometimes. No one is successful all the time. And you got to learn to brush off your bottom, spit in your palms, and say, I think I'll go another round. Then you'll be a winner. It's not about getting knocked down. It's about getting back up. That's the mindset you have to help your team members embrace. They're going to get knocked down. Help them get back up. So let's recap some of the things we talked about today and learning how to help your team rebound. Be resilient. We've talked about how you empower your sales team to embrace rejections, to build their persistence, to be adaptable, to turn rejection into opportunity, and knowing that this landscape in sales is ever changing. Competitors come, competitors go, prices rise, prices go down, economy changes, it's always changing. And we've got to recognize, you have to recognize the dynamic nature of the sales profession. You're always working on it. You're never done. You have to be persistent and resilient too. And you have to be flexible. You have to utilize your resources. Understand that you set the example because it's contagious. The more resilient you are, the more resilient they'll be. So watch yourself. And set the example of which you want them to be. Hope today was valuable for you. And I want you to get out there, embrace some of these strategies, these mindsets, get after it, make it.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of the Business Mechanic Show. If today's content resonates with you, then you're going to love what we have to offer. From performance coaching designed to enhance your potential, to executive coaching that guides leaders to steer their ships towards greater success. Are you in sales management or looking to fortify your leadership acumen? Dive into our sales management training and coaching. Not only will it sharpen your strategies, but it will also provide you an ROI that's undeniable. Remember, the best investment you can make is in yourself and your team. And the best part, prices start at just $47 per month, making top-tier coaching and training accessible for everyone. Your growth, both personally and professionally, can have a ripple effect, the one I call the transformational triangle of change. Thanks once again for tuning in, and remember, every business needs a tune-up every now and then. Let the Business Mechanic Show be your guide. Check out our website, rdltraining.com, to discover more details on our programs and coaches. We have a link in the show notes to guide you there. Until next time, we're out of here.